All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a massive move in the healthcare sector, and we're doing it by unpacking just one single powerful headline. We're going to cut through all the usual market noise and really decode the exact story hidden in the text. By the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why the heavyweights of the global financial world are paying such close attention.
So here's our focus today. This specific headline straight from the Economic Times. Cloudnine's 25% stake sale attracts top global PE firms. Now, at first glance, it just looks like your standard run-of-the-mill financial update, right? But when we actually break down the specific company, the percentage being offered, and the massive suitors involved, well, it reveals a highly strategic corporate maneuver. Let's kick things off with that 25% figure. In the world of corporate governance, a quarter stake, it's not just a random number. It is a highly strategic threshold. We're talking about a massive capital injection here. It's exactly the kind of slice you take when you want significant influence, like a powerful board seat and absolutely vital voting rights. But, crucially, without actually triggering a full buyout.
Think about what this exact split does. It ensures the original visionaries, the founders, keep their hands firmly on the steering wheel because they're retaining 75% ownership. But with that 25% sold, they now have a ridiculously powerful financial engine sitting right there in the passenger seat, ready to help them scale and navigate whatever is down the road.
Enter the global PEs.
The headline specifically calls out top global private equity, or PE firms. And listen, when these mega funds with literal billions in dry powder just sitting there, when they start circling a specialized player like Cloudnine, it is a massive flashing neon indicator. They aren't just looking for some slow passive returns. No way. They see profound, untapped operational efficiencies and a business model that is ready to scale up in a big way. It creates this absolutely fascinating dynamic. On one side of the table, you have Cloudnine, right? They're unlocking vast amounts of capital to scale their operations, build out new facilities, and heavily invest in tech. And then on the flip side, you have these fiercely competitive global PE entities. They're sitting on mountains of cash, and they desperately need to secure a lucrative, highly defensive asset to park it in. It's basically a perfect storm of supply and demand playing out at the very highest levels of finance.
Which brings us to the broader healthcare sector context.
Because you really have to remember, this deal sits squarely at the intersection of healthcare, biotech, and the broader medical industry. And these are universally critical sectors. Honestly, regardless of macroeconomic headwinds or inflation or even full-blown recessions, the demand here is driven by global demographic shifts, and that demand remains constant. Investors view these assets as structurally essential and, quite frankly, incredibly resilient.
So that leads us to a really big question. What does a 25% stake actually buy you in today's fiercely competitive healthcare market? Well, it's a lot more than just equity on a balance sheet, I'll tell you that. It buys direct, immediate exposure to a proven operational model and a deeply established patient brand. In a sector where building infrastructure and trust literally takes decades, buying a 25% stake like this is basically the ultimate shortcut. And really, this single headline points to a much larger macroeconomic trend. From a strictly financial perspective, it objectively demonstrates a hard reality we are seeing right now. Major institutional wealth view stakes in established healthcare providers as highly desirable, borderless assets. The capital is flowing, and it is aggressively seeking out these specialized players who have already figured out exactly how to scale effectively. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider this. We've just seen how a single 25% stake represents this massive collision of global capital and essential medical infrastructure. But if the world's absolute top investment firms are fighting tooth and nail for just a quarter of a company like Cloudnine, well, what does that signal for the future valuation of the entire global healthcare sector? Are we standing on the precipice of a totally new era where global finance completely reshapes medical infrastructure worldwide? It's a fascinating space to watch, for sure, and we'll be right here to decode it when the next headline drops.